All right, I'd like to introduce our board of directors. I have Kathy Day, Madeline DeMaitonon, Tasha Woods, Cindy Coe, and myself, Mike Rowley. We are also joined by our superintendent, Troy Turno, our executive director of teaching and learning, Jennifer Kuntz, our executive director of finance and operations, Kim Snyder, could not join us tonight. And we're also joined by Heather Burfine in the audience. Board, first up is the consent agenda. We've had an opportunity to review these items. Oh, sorry. Yep, I'm looking at the wrong thing. So first up is board recognition.
All right, so for board recognition tonight is to recognize our new principal at Ida Nason Aronica Elementary, Heather Burfine. So I'm going to have her step up to the mic. She'll say a few words and then answer any short questions that you have. Told her this would not be the heavy duty grilling session, but we're very excited. We had a strong pool of candidates for the Ida position, and we interviewed back in June. And had administrators, had a community session, opportunity for parents and community members, and then for staff. And so going through that process was fairly rigorous. And throughout it, the consensus was that Heather had really risen to the top and possessed a ton of qualities, a strong history of building relationships, strong academic background, and certainly strong connections to our community. So, we were very glad to offer the job to Heather, and very excited that she accepted it. And she has started officially July 1st and has been here throughout the summer so far at various times, getting herself acclimated, meeting with staff, meeting with other people in the district. And so she's hit the ground running and doing a fantastic job. And we very much look forward to working with Heather, who comes to us from the Selah School District. So Heather, go ahead and just a few quick words.
There you go. Okay. Good evening again. I'm Heather Burfine, and yes, I kind of come round circle to coming back to Ellensburg. Both my children started in the Ellensburg School District and graduated. I have a daughter who worked at the Thorpe Fruit Stand for many years. That got her through college, and a son who lives in Seattle. They're all grown and gone. And I've taught here. I used to say I have worked in every building but Mount Stewart, and now I can say that again. I have worked in every building but Mount Stewart. So yeah, I hope you don't grill me because Troy did a really good job of that. But I'm super excited, to say beyond excited, to be back here. This has been a dream to come back and then to get Ida. It's like, oh, what a great school. I'm learning and meeting with staff. I've had some meet and greets at coffee places and Weinigers and just kind of seeing who's there. Did the bookmobile last night with the group, and we'll do that next week. So very excited to be back. So go ahead. What questions do you have? Okay.
No, I don't have any questions. I just want to welcome you and say how excited I am. I know that we've worked together in so many different capacities for, I think it might be getting close to decades now, not the age either one of us, but
my hair is grayer than yours.
I'm thrilled and welcome. And I hope that you get inspired by all the wonderful things that are happening up here. And I'm disappointed that I'm not going to see you on my first day in class down at Selah.
But I'll see you up here. So thank you.
I think you're off the hook tonight. I don't think we have any hard pressing questions for you at the moment. So,
and I will just mention one connection that some people don't always make, but Dave Burfine is my husband, who is also the director of Lazy F Camp and Retreat Center, where we send our fifth graders to camp. So I get to enjoy fifth graders every year, and it's the beginning of our camp season, and it just makes me happy. So thank you.
Welcome to the team. Thank you. All right, board, that does take us to the consent agenda, and we've had the opportunity to review these items individually and seek clarification from district admin prior to our meeting. I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Kathy has moved that we accept the consent agenda, and Tasha has seconded. Board, any discussion? Okay, call a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, consent agenda has passed. Board, that now takes us into administration, and first up is Jen and the teaching and learning report.
Okay, so I was just gonna update you a little bit on what the TNL team has been doing this summer. It's nice when I wouldn't necessarily say things slow down, but it's just a different pace and with a different focus, sort of. So it's been nice to experience that with the TNL team. This past year, there was so much new. A couple of people new to the district or their role, and under Troy's new leadership, and so we had a fantastic year, but this summer we were really looking forward to, okay, let's sit down and really talk about what kind of outcomes do we want to see from the TNL team, and really how can we see our impact as a team on the classroom and students. So we've spent a lot of hours together this summer, just kind of taking that time to reflect on things and to plan for things. So we've looked at a lot of data, all sorts of data. Everyone brought different data, everything from achievement data to behavior data to enrollment data to IEP minute data and like how that works with staffing, to something I learned about maximized data, which shows us what our actual demographics are differently than what the state reports because of the way Skyward buckets them, which was fascinating. So we just looked at all sorts of different data to kind of reflect on, even looking back at our DLIT notes from the year for what was surfacing from buildings and what our final reflection with DLIT was talking about in terms of where our focus should be. So just all sorts of different stuff that helped us start talking about what could our district improvement plan look like for this year, which is not a strategic plan. That's totally something different. This is more around what specific targets do we have for the TNL team or for the district around teaching and learning this year. So we've spent quite a bit of time sort of looking at that and developing it, and hopefully we'll have something to share with that soon. But that then developed into conversations around, well, if these are going to be our focus areas, what kind of PD needs to come alongside that? What's our PD plan for the year? Making sure that we have that in place so that we can communicate that out. And so, of course, that PD plan involves the pieces directly tied to our areas of improvement. But then also, just as sort of call these out specifically, an ed tech support plan, because we have just hired a new ed tech coordinator, which is the first time we've had that specific role. We've had something sort of like it in the past. So now we'll have someone very intent on being able to support ed technology in our classrooms and with teachers, building their comfort level and capacity with that. So building in, now that we have someone focused on that, how can we flesh out what a plan for support looks like? And then additionally, a TPEP plan, and that's our teacher evaluation system, because Danielson is coming out with, which is our framework that we use, is coming out with an updated framework. So we were trying to layer in, when we were having all these conversations about things, how do we use the framework intentionally in a year where it'll be new for teachers to kind of pinpoint what we're trying to do and how it aligns with some of the new framework pieces. And then, of course, a PD plan rolls into a budget plan. If this is what we're looking to emphasize and spend our energies on, what does that mean for budget? What do we have to plan for there? And then just a communication plan. So we've spent a lot of good time talking over all of this stuff. And it's been a great TNL summer of reflection and planning. So there's that. And then Haley was unable to be here tonight, but wanted to also bring to you that we are moving towards a mastery-based transcript for our big picture program. And so we've signed up there. We've been using the traditional letter grade transcripting system for big picture, but that doesn't necessarily align with the fact that they graduate with competencies. We have a waiver from the state that says they can graduate showing these competencies rather than under the traditional system. So Haley, this is all Haley's work and with some guidance from Rhonda, but she and her team have done a good job of looking at Mastery Transcript Consortium as the platform that we're going to use to help support this, because it will be new and different. But it's essentially a digital platform to house all of the crediting transcripts. And then also it's a portfolio of work. So not only does it track the credit towards these competencies, but it also helps or allows students to upload evidence of their learning and house it there. And that portfolio can be shared with colleges, the actual work, as well as obviously the transcripting part. And this particular one, Mastery Transcript Consortium, is sort of the major one out there that's doing this. So this has been accepted by every university in Washington and over 500 across the United States. And the nice thing is if there are students who apply somewhere that hasn't yet encountered this mastery transcript, they'll do the work of contacting that college or university and walking them through what it all means and how they can use it. So to give you a little bit more picture of what this will look like. So the big picture competencies, these are the 5 big picture competencies that the state granted us the waiver to say that students can graduate with showing proficiency with these competencies. So personal qualities, communication, quantitative reasoning, empirical reasoning, and social reasoning. And so this year, Haley has done a great deal of work, again, like I said, with some support from Rhonda, who has been through this before, but oops, I was gonna try to click on that. I don't know why I didn't open it. There it goes. But a great deal of work on creating rubrics so that they can actually start using these and families can understand what it means to show proficiency in these competencies. So you can see up at the top, there's a few different versions. This one's sort of a summary version of all of them so that you can see all of them, but you can see it shows what competency it's hitting at. Down the side, it'll show what Washington State learning standards are being met when they are accomplishing those different competencies, and then across what it looks like in different grade levels. So this one is for social reasoning, communication. So again, you can see the Washington State learning standards around reading informational texts, targets 8 through 14 are met when you meet these competencies. So that's kind of a picture of what's being scored on these transcripts. And then I'm going to open an actual example of one of those transcripts. So this is, and you can link to it live on a web document that's a little bit more, a web page that's a little bit more interactive with some of the stuff, but the transcripts pretty much have all of the information. So there's a little student statement. It shows you your current credit profile. So around here are the different competencies, and then these bars show which the solid ones are credits earned. So this student is nearly complete, and the dotted one means that's a credit that's in progress. So that will always be accessible. And then it has, these are not the competencies that we have. This is just a sample document from Mastery Transcript Consortium. So ours will match the big picture ones, but those will be listed here with evidence of where this particular student is either advanced in that area, shows which ones they have evidence for, the little triangle. And then if you keep scrolling, they actually can, and again, this is what colleges would receive. They can actually open up some of the evidence of the student's work. So for example, you can link to, this one is a paper about a leadership conference or something they did in Washington, D.C. with some reflection on it and pictures, cool teenagers giving Leahy some faith in humanity. Hold on, let me move this bar because I can't get back to where I was. But it will talk about which competency it helps meet, what it's evidence of. And here's another one, Batman's hive dives. This one's looking at physics and whether or not Batman's dive off of a building in a free fall so many distance and then opening up his wings, would that actually work? So shows the work there, which videos the student used to help him come up with this, and the conclusion that no, it would not work. So anyhow, that is a kind of quick glance at what those mastery transcripts look like. And I think it's pretty exciting to be able to track these progress towards these competencies in ways that are really meaningful and relevant to what the student's working on in school. So again, this is Haley, but Haley acknowledges the big picture staff is ready for this shift and understands that it builds program legitimacy, provides clarity around what it is when we talk about the big picture environment and doing it a little bit differently, what we want students to know and be able to do through that program. And it enhances teacher practice by creating those intentional, clear, precise measurements and the language around that work. So the transition, Haley intends to, in the first month or more of school, really develop that understanding of those rubrics with students, providing and creating with them examples of what that might look like in an actual piece of evidence of that work. She plans to have specific family open houses around the transition. And then throughout the year, she intends to do sort of like a bi-weekly communication around, let's take a look at this competency. Here's some examples of what that could look like, some evidence. And so just help build that awareness and understanding. And that's it.
And I would add that the Mastery transcript company, they keep a cohort of districts. So they're always able to give a district for Haley who's conquered one of the issues that comes up. Haley will always have districts that are actually using the program to be able to go and troubleshoot things with and talk about how they're doing, which is something that we really, when we were looking at it, knew that was going to be necessary. Especially anytime you do anything that kind of breaks a tradition, whether it's good or not, you have to be able to answer some of those types of questions. And so having that direct access to districts that have gone through it before, that have implemented it, have been in the stages where we are now, was really important to us. And so we're very happy that there is a large group out there that's willing to help. She's been in contact with them quite a bit over the spring and the summer.
So you might not know this, but if you do, are there districts that use this for the whole school, or are these primarily just for different programs within the larger school? Or, I mean, do you know how it's being used?
I'm not sure we know the exact answer to that, but our impression from all of the data and information that we have is that there are somewhere out there in this country, entire districts that use this K through 12. And for all of their schools in the system. I just can't name them off the top of my head, but that was a part of the discussion. Well, is this a completely niche thing, or is it, or is it being done on a larger scale out there as well? And the answer that we received is yes. I just don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head. It seems like a lot were in the Midwest, but I could be completely off with where that was.
The rubric that the example you gave and all the work that's gone into what's there so far, it said ESD developed. So who's in charge of coming up with that rubric?
So it's a combination of, it's an overlay of multiple different pieces. So it's got some of the big picture language and elements to it. It's got Washington State Learning Standards woven in. And then Rhonda actually started a big picture school and previously in a different district. And so she worked to develop some rubrics. So we took some of her good work that's now been being used for a couple of years there. So and then some of it came directly from feedback from the teachers that Haley was working with in developing what this is going to look like for us.
Board, any other questions or?
I just want to say thank you. I think this is exciting, important work. Competencies, I think, are coming up. There's a couple parents on the board. I don't know, like we've been visiting universities and we've had two of them ask us for a portfolio of evidence for our incoming freshmen next year. And when I asked them to clarify what are they looking for, the suggestion was maybe you have him in 7th grade giving a speech or playing his trumpet. Now you have it now. And as a parent who does not scrapbook, I was like, oh, boy. Let's see what's on Google Drive. The portfolio of evidence is showing up mainstream in the ask for it. So I think it's really exciting that the ALE program, which overcame so much last year and just worked through so many transition and changes, is doing this also. So kudos to everyone there and thank you, District Admin, for leading this and embracing it.
All right. Thank you, Jen. That takes us on to next item on our administration is the superintendent update.
Yeah, Leslie will get it. Yeah, it's pretty short tonight. Anyway, when we did back in June, the social studies adoption and things like that, there was Jen had mentioned that the first grade team is sort of like was thinking about changing their mind and going through things. So they have, and so that's just kind of being fleshed out now, and we'll bring that to you in August. And they basically did what they were thinking, which was going with what the kindergarten team had used, as Jen sort of predicted. So we'll bring that to you. That there will be sort of that one final adoption thing to take care of before the start of the next school year. I will be having a meeting. Wait a second. I'm probably on the wrong slide myself because I got started backwards. So anyway, Department of Justice, nothing to follow up. That's the one I always put up there. They'll communicate when they are ready. That it does seem like we will probably get something within the next 2 months, in that there's been some technical questions, just asked of our attorney about some of the, exchanging of information and things like that. So he says that's generally when they're starting to wrap things up, but we have not received any direct communication about when to expect anything. We do have a couple of awards sort of that we wanted to, they've kind of been put out there, Leslie and whatnot, but just making sure we acknowledge them so that Ida Nason-Aronica was chosen as the Field STEM School of the Year from the Pacific Education Institute, and Heather probably doesn't even know it yet, but they go over in Olympia early October to accept the award. So I think Leslie has an email on that from them, but it was a very big deal for the school, for outdoor education, our outdoor education program. That was a part of making sure that we had that some interest in that and some experience in that throughout our interview process. The celebration will actually take place on September 26th in Lacey. They haven't sent us all of the details about it yet, but basically the Field STEM School of the Year supports the mission of scientific literacy, civic engagement by promoting community-based science through the Field STEM program. And so Ida is an exemplary example of that. And so we're very proud of Ida to receive that statewide recognition. And then the other one, Jen sprung this one on us a few weeks ago. State Board of Education sent her an email and said, hey, guess what? Valley View won a big award from 21-22. Like, okay, great. Rob didn't even know. He's like, what are we talking about? This day is from 21-22, State Board of Education. So, and they've kind of even changed the name of their awards. I don't know. I did even some, when I got back to the office today, I'm like, I better look this stuff up to see if I'm missing anything. And it's a little bit confusing in that they have changed the name of the awards, but Valley View has been recognized for the school year 21-22 by the State Board of Education with school recognition for high growth in ELA and math proficiency rates by one or more student groups. Now, they have not yet sent us the details of what exactly that is, and we don't know why, but they said more details will follow and they'll give them to us. But we figured since we had waited long enough, we should at least announce that from 21-22, Valley View won the award. We'll have more information and we'll publicize it and all of that when we get more information. But it's nice, even though the recognition, we would probably assume it would come earlier. It's still great for us to recognize that, to be recognized, and for the school community at Valley View to be recognized for that growth. So that's very important. Then the next slide, which I already went over, the social studies adoption. But the other sort of news, and it's we're just going back and forth with ESD 171 about scheduling some dates. So they will come down, I will meet with them to lay the groundwork for our strategic planning process. It'll either be, we're figuring out when either one of us can do it. It'll either be the last week of August, so right before school starts for us, or during the first week of school. Bill Eagle and I are nailing those dates down, but they're excited to work with us. And basically what we'll be doing is going through their process. They'll ask me questions about it. I will assume I will have a few questions that I will reach out back and forth, but we're kind of setting the schedule. They understand that we want to be done by the end of next school year, which is sort of how it fits. If you get started in that September, October window, you wrap it up in May. So we're in good shape for all of that, but they just reached out, I think, late last week. And so that started our process of getting everybody's schedules together, but very excited about that. That will be, obviously one of our biggest projects next year. And we'll, do a lot to help us, lay that foundation for the work that we're doing in future years in the district. So definitely keep you up to date with that. But that'll be happening right as school gets started. We'll get started with that process. Any questions or anything?
Board, any questions?
All right, thanks.
All right. Thank you, Troy, and thanks for the update on the strategic plan meeting and stuff too. So I know we all are wanting to move forward with that one. So, all right. Board, next up is business and the financial update. As Troy mentioned, Kim's not here. So if you guys want to peruse through that and then have any questions for Kim, we can email Kim.
Yeah, or let me know. But yeah, she planned on being here, but couldn't. So none of us were prepared to read it and be able to answer any questions.
All right. So if we do have any questions, we can reach out. Let's see. So then that takes us into policy. And board, first up is policy 3520, student fees, fines, or student fees, fines, or charges.
So we were having a little bit of a conversation about this before the meeting began, just about it references appeals processes for short-term and long-term suspension, but those aren't included in there. So I guess as those appeals processes are delineated elsewhere, we just reference those.
Yes, and they will be, they're referenced in the handbooks, but then they're also referenced in the procedure that goes along with it.
Okay. I had a really quick revision, if we can make it, which I shared with Troy. It seems like everywhere in the document, parents or guardians are referred to, except in the last sentence of the third paragraph. And so I thought for consistency's sake, we should add or guardians there. So the sentence begins, the superintendent or designee will establish a procedure for annually notifying parents of the availability of fee waivers. And I just thought we should say parents or guardians there, because that's the language that's used elsewhere.
So yeah, so if you note that when you vote on it, then we will make that change as we put it into the policy book. So Both of these policies, this, as we were referencing, is a revision. The substance of the policy has not changed. They just added some details, which depending on your point of view, could be more confusing or less confusing than the original policy. But the WASDA guidance is the substance of the policy has not changed. So it's really just a little more detailed version of events.
And just to clarify, Cindy, that's actually, you're asking for the revision on 3207, not
It should be 35.
3520.
It's the third paragraph. Yeah, so right there, it's just says parents, and I'm just asking for parents or guardians because that's
Oh, okay.
what it says.
This is an action item, board.
As the superintendent noted, this is not a big change in language. It's just some clarifying language from our recent legislature. So I move that we adopt, I get this wrong every single time, that we adopt policy 3520 with suggested revisions.
I'll second.
Tasha has moved that we adopt policy 3520 with the suggested revisions, and Cindy has seconded. Board, any discussion? Call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, policy 3520 has passed. Next up is policy 3207, prohibition of harassment, intimidation, and bullying of students.
I guess I would just ask district admin if they have a recommendation or concerns with this policy.
No, because the only thing that was added was clarification that this applies to students. And that's there's at the end of right above behaviors and expressions, the policy and accompanying procedure do not govern harassment, intimidation, or bullying of an employee, volunteer, parent, legal guardian, or community member. And then in the second paragraph under behaviors and expressions, it just adds directed towards a student. And that's just simply clarification of the law. This is in the 3000s. So it is a policy that pertains to students. I don't know what would have happened that needed that clarification, but that was brought about. There actually will be the bigger change is not necessarily the policy, but some of the procedure that goes along with it. And so Rhonda and Lexi have been working throughout the summer to prepare for working with our administrators and communicating out the updated procedures that go along with the policy. And those are things that we had already been working on throughout the year as a result of our communication with our partners in Washington, D.C. So it's not a big change for us other than, just making sure we adopt those once the policy revision, which the clarification is just that it applies to students, then we will update the procedure and are prepared. We'll have that up and then prepared to work through everybody with it. I remember we talked about in the late spring, some of the required language that has to go into handbooks. That's really part of the procedure change. That's a big part of it. And we are also waiting for the updated policy that goes along with this around the new Title IX regulations. And we will have to get on that as soon as WASDA comes out with it. They're supposed to have it by August 1st. So we'll see, but certainly they know we all need it by the beginning of the school year. So we'll see what that entails. We'll talk about that. So we will have sort of the companion policy about sexual harassment to go along with this. But the bigger things are just some of those procedural changes, making sure we're following certain steps. And those are things that we've been working on all year. So it's not really drastic for us. It's just we've got our training in place to make sure that we're ready to go.
I should probably know this, but is there a companion policy that does govern harassment, intimidation, and bullying of staff? And I was particularly thinking about this because I was reading somewhere on the news about, I think it's in New Jersey, like there was a group of high school students who published fake TikTok videos about teachers. I was horrified. So, yeah. I'm
Yes,
wondering if it
it's covered
covers- yeah.
and we have those general categories. I just cannot remember the number off the top of my head, but yes, that would be, and I did read about that same incident, and that would be very taxing on the system. But yes, there's policy. in
Yeah, I
place.
guess I wanted to make sure that whatever policy governs staff includes online harassment, intimidation, et cetera.
Yeah, we are actually looking, I know WASDA is looking at some of those revisions as well. And I would imagine they may even come up with something that's a little maybe more intense. But yeah, we'll keep our eye out for that and we'll talk about it. And I will look it up and make sure you know.
I would like to move that we adopt policy 3207.
Second.
Tasha has moved that we adopt policy 3207 and Kathy has seconded. Board, any discussion? Go ahead and call a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Now, policy 3207 has been adopted. That now takes us into board reports. I have a couple things here to ask. So first of all, I don't have an actual board report. However, I do have some questions for Tasha, Cindy, and Kathy. So I'll start with Tasha first. And it was about ledge report and the General Assembly Handbook. You had some things to pass along to us.
So if the board could consider on July 1st, there was an email that went out to all school board directors about the General Assembly Handbook that is available on the WASDA website. That is sort of what the end of September meeting will be about to discuss, to vote on, and about what the legislative platform will be moving forward. And so I would like the chair to consider everyone taking a look at that handbook and coming with ideas. What are your priorities? What do you want to see move forward? And then if we could have space on agenda so that everyone could do it, because we only have one vote. And so getting consensus from the school board about what you would like me to represent you as would be helpful. And that is the General Assembly Handbook.
And the General Assembly is at the end of September. So that gives us what, you said, so maybe 2 or 3 meetings. So maybe one of our study sessions, we could devote some time to discussing those priorities.
So Mike, would you or Tasha forward that to me? Because I looked and I didn't see it. So just to make sure that we all actually can look at it.
Yes, I can do that.
And it's available for everyone online, wasda.org. So anyone listening can also look at the handbook.
Gen Assembly.
Yes. I think there's a whole under training and events. I mean, it starts with the intro paragraph. As General Assembly is one of the most important school board events, which has the grammatical error of including one of. General Assembly is the most important event? No. Okay. See, this is why you guys have to inform me of how you would like me to vote.
Yes, thank you. Madeline, did you get it or do you need? Okay. I'll send it to you just in case. Okay, that should be forwarded to you guys. All right, thank you, Tasha. We will be sure to discuss that and get that on either one of our study sessions or our next meeting. So, and second of all, Kathy and Cindy, I believe you guys have gone and done some.
And Tasha too.
Oh, and Tasha. Okay, perfect. So Tasha, you can answer too. But I'm just curious, you guys have gone and done some of the meet and greets at the farmer's market. I'd just like to hear how that's been going.
Yeah, I think that it's been going well. I've had a great time and we've talked to quite a few people, and Cindy and I were talking about, we hope it will have sort of a cumulative effect. But we have had a few themes already rise to the surface, one being cell phones in the classroom. So it's been really good to hear what people have to say. Just about everybody says, get them out. So that's one thing that's been shared. Some questions about school safety issues, some things that we've already been aware of, and then other things that we're keeping or running a record and making note of the things that are being shared with us by the community. But we also have had a lot of people just stop and say, this is awesome, and we love the Ellensburg School District. So we're really only writing down the concerns, but we've also had people that just have stopped and said, my kids went through and they loved it. So we're getting a good balance, I think, of people that are concerned and people that just want to thank us. So.
I guess I'll just add a couple of themes that came out from notes we've been taking. There have been a couple of questions about supporting mental health issues of students. A couple of questions, not concerns, really more questions about upholding high academic standards. And including like supporting media literacy and how we do that now that we don't have designated librarians in school at Morgan and at the high school. But yeah, generally people have been really positive, and it's been nice to sit out there. And one of the things that we've done as we've sat there, at least Kathy and I did the first time, was just think about like the farmers market is going to reach a certain population, but what are the other venues that we might make ourselves available at throughout the year where we could reach people who don't get to the farmers market.
Have you guys, have you had many community members ask how they get in contact with us and stuff like that? Or do they kind of, I mean, aside from you being there and interacting with them, have you had many concerned citizens or anything like that come up and say, how do we interact with the board?
I haven't had that. We do. Leslie made some great flyers for us to give to people that we've passed out a few of that have who everybody is and who you would contact if you had a question about, which department or, kind of where your question would be fielded. But we haven't had anybody necessarily ask about that. But we did have some people say, this is great because I wouldn't come on a busy weeknight with my family to a board meeting and wouldn't necessarily have a chance to communicate. A lot of people just maybe have one key question and, they just want to ask it. And so just giving them that chance to ask it right there has been helpful. So.
Guess I'll just say I'm signed up to do it on Saturday morning if anybody wants to come join me. I think I'm the only person signed up, so feel free to hang out with me.
Well, thank you for doing that so far. And I think we've got several months still, a couple months still of the farmers market. So hopefully we can keep doing that, and hopefully I can make it out there one of these days. So yeah. Well, thank you. And I think that's it for the board chair report. That does take us into public comment. Let's see. Leslie, can you get us set up for public comment? The board is not obligated to respond to questions or challenges made during public comment. During the public comment period, the board's silence will not signal agreement or endorse any speaker's remarks. Individuals in person wishing to be heard by the board need to be signed up, and those on Zoom need to add their names to the documents in the Zoom chat box. If you are unable to do this, individuals may also be recognized within Zoom by using the icon or emoji to show you are raising your hand for public comment. So let's see. In my capacity as board president, I may terminate any individual's remarks when they are allotted time has passed, or if any speaker makes uncivil comments, including obscene comments, comments that are defamatory towards another person, or commentary that is an unwarranted invasion of privacy. I'd ask that you respect staff members' privacy and consider putting any concerns you have in writing if they pertain to an individual or personnel matter. The board can then review and forward those to an appropriate administrator. Once the board chair calls on an individual, they will identify themselves by stating the name and address for the record. Individuals will proceed to make comments within a 3-minute time limit. If an individual wants to request a response from the board, this may be possible by submitting this request in writing or email to board@esd401.org. Leslie, we'll begin with those attending in person.
I'm the representative for the one person from the public, I guess. Let's see, I used to be an educator. I resigned or retired early in 2017. And so I've always wanted to come to school board meetings. A couple of years ago, I attended a few when there was a different superintendent. So I just wanted to come and see who the school board was. I know who Mike is. And it's interesting to see those, the new portfolios you were talking about. The school district that I used, there were a lot of students that, well, not a lot of them, but there was a handful that didn't make standard for the state test. So a lot of my job was working with those students and working through their portfolios to be able to graduate. One is there's going to be some questions, but probably after the meeting, I'm going to try to snag somebody rather than get in and try to email you guys. And it's just about the front doors that open right up to like 5:30, or because if the public comes, they have to for sure get through a door. I wasn't quite sure where to come to. This is my first time at this school. The other thing I was wondering is if I'm going to have to find out where all the offices are. I don't know if they've moved the administrative office because it's been a couple of years since I've been involved in the schools. Let's see, I'm curious about the training that's coming up for the staff going into the fall. So I'm also wondering if there are currently 2 school board meetings a month, like what's posted online on your website, or if it's just the ones that are on the calendar. It said usually it's the, I think the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of the month. So I don't know if during the summer you do 2 meetings or 1. If there's always a study session before or not, or would they be on the calendar? So I'm going to need some help with the calendar. Also, I work with, maybe I'm past my time, I work with homeschoolers, and some of them have wanted to look at the curriculums. And I've heard that's kind of difficult to find online. Somebody had implied that at a meeting, but I haven't looked in there. So if I'm going to have a hard time navigating the website to find that, I would love some help with that after the meeting or at some time set up an appointment. That's it. Thank you. Thanks for being at the farmer's market. I saw you. Nice job. Thank you for.
Thank you, Teresa. Leslie, is there anybody online signed up?
Yes.
All right.
I'm sorry, I didn't tell you my name and address. Teresa Fu, 140 Woodhouse Loop, Ellensburg, Washington.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Shannon.
I just wanted to publicly extend my sincere gratitude to the Ellensburg School District and especially the Ellensburg community for the most amazing, blessed career anyone could have ever asked for. This has been a dream of mine to teach forever, and I was very fortunate to get snatched up right when I graduated from college, and I have put my heart and my soul into this job every single one of my 29 years. Holy cow, people. So I'm not giving up teaching. I'm not ready. I'm going to officially retire when they start bringing me a package of Depends on the first day instead of an apple. So I have a little bit more time, a little bit. But before I move on to my next adventure, I just honestly wanted to not have it just be on a piece of paper. I wanted the city of Ellensburg to know that I love them, and every child that's ever been in my class will be in my heart forever. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Shannon. All right, thank you. I'll go ahead and close public comment. Board, that takes us into new business. Any new business, board? No? That will take us into our meeting closing. I spoke with Troy. We do have an executive session tonight, board. It's to discuss a complaint of an employee. He says it'll take about 10 minutes. So we will go into executive session here at 6:21 and come back at 6:31. And no action will take place. No action will be taken on this. So board will go ahead and go into executive session from 6:21 to 6:31. So. All right, thank you. We are now back. Next up, board calendar. Board, anything on the calendar to discuss? Clarification and next steps? Signing of documents tonight? All right, that takes us to adjournment.
A second.
Tasha has moved that we adjourn and Kathy has seconded. Thank you all. This meeting is over. Have a great night. Thanks.